First, we made custom Pokemon Akedo Warrior Mewtwo. Next came Pikaru, the mashup between Pikachu and Ryu. Followed by Project Genji, half Greninja, half Guile. Last came Charizard, one of our largest warriors ever. Next, we're gonna make Gengar to finish out our Halloween series. And since we have 3 extra Bucktooths, I figure we'd use him. But how am I gonna turn this into this? Comment your suggestions and like and subscribe for part 2. In making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior Part 1, I mentioned Mewtwo, Pikaru, Genji, and Charizard, but I forgot all about Mimikyu. Thanks for reminding me. So that actually means Gengar will be our 5th custom Pokemon Warrior, and I already know he's gonna be our hardest one so far. And it's primarily because of the shape of his body. So the first thing we need to do is change the way this Series 3 Battle Giant splits. And my first thought was to make him a Super Splitter, which would basically change him from a half body to a full body splitter. And I don't know if it's because I was just getting over a really bad cold or if I'm just losing it, but I totally botched the operation and I came really close to melting down. But I'm so glad that I didn't quit because I actually ended up inventing a new way of splitting and I'm calling it a kinetic strike, just because it sounds good. Here's how it works. Bucktooth has been cut in half and his body and legs are glued together. And one half of his body is also permanently attached to the base plate. The other half is locked into place with a foot peg and the original split strike button. When he's locked together, he can fight just like normal and is completely stable on his controller. But watch when you hit his split strike button. That's a kinetic strike. I think we're ready for part 3. Don't miss it. Like and subscribe. In the last episode, we made the world's first kinetic strike Akedo Warrior. Check it out. Now, I'm gonna attempt to cut this Gengar toy in half so we can wrap it over Bucktooth and complete our Halloween 3.0 series once and for all. This isn't gonna be an easy job, so I'm gonna mark the center line with a pencil, and to make the cut, I'll be using this coping saw because it's the thinnest saw I own. And that's important. The thickness of your saw blade equals the amount of material being removed. Another tip for cutting an object in half is to make different cuts from multiple angles. That way, you can keep your eye on the center line, ensuring a straight cut. After cracking Gengar open, I was pretty surprised to see the size of the mechanism that made his tongue pop out. But after a few more cuts, I was able to remove it, and I was starting to believe this actually might work. In the next episode, we'll figure out how to attach this Gengar shell to our Akedo Warrior. Don't miss it! Like and subscribe. Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior, Part 4. Okay, I've been standing here thinking about how to put this Gengar skin onto Bucktooth, and without a doubt, we need to cut these arms off. And now that the arms are off, I can definitely tell we're gonna have to cut the legs off too. So at this point, you might be thinking there's nothing left, but we still have the body with the split strike button, and that's all we need for this build. This next part is gonna be difficult. I need to figure out a way to mount this Gengar skin onto this body while keeping the weight as low as possible.
Think!
And I think I might have figured out a way to do it. Using UV resin. If you don't know what this stuff is, it's basically resin that hardens when it's exposed to UV light. So as you can see, some of it's leaking out, but I can just hit it with the UV light pen and instantly cure it. And now I have it in the sun to completely cure. This is what the bottom looks like, and I can tell from some of the bubbles that the resin still needs more time in the sun.
Can you believe that, son?
I could look at it all day.
Alright guys, this is the moment of truth right here, and I gotta say, it looks good. This just might work. I'm gonna clean it up real quick, and this is some nasty stuff, so I am wearing a dust mask, and I also got the vacuum sucking up all of the particles. Because health is wealth. And check it out, guys. The two parts of the body attach and stay attached. Now, we just have to repeat this process with the other half, but is it gonna be as easy? Like and subscribe for part 5. Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior, part 5. In the last episode, we embedded the right half of our Akedo Warrior's body into the right half of our Gengar skin using UV resin. Now, we need to do the same thing to the left side. And in order to guarantee that the two halves line up, I think we need to figure out a way to pour the resin while everything is connected together.
Think!
Okay, this is what I came up with. I'm gonna borrow some of Eddie's clay to create a barrier, keeping the resin from sealing our two Gengar halves together. So in addition to wrapping a small bead of clay around the entire body, I'll fill the cavity in the mouth, and I'll also wrap a bead of clay around the entire perimeter. I was so excited to see if this was gonna work or not that I jumped the gun and started pouring the UV resin with no protection on the finished half of our Gengar. If I didn't catch this mistake in time, the whole project would have been ruined because our two Gengar halves would have been permanently glued together. A layer of painter's tape is a simple solution to our problem, and after filling all the holes with clay, again, I started pouring in the UV resin. I left Gengar out in the sun for the rest of the day, trying to keep him as level as possible. It's late in the afternoon now, and I can't wait to take all this clay off of Gengar to see if he actually works. He came apart easily enough, but does he connect? And more importantly, does he split? As soon as I get all this tape and clay off, we're gonna find out. Okay, here we go, guys. He does connect, and he's pretty stuck together. And when I hit the split strike button, he splits. That's just awesome. I'm gonna fill all these holes and imperfections, and after the resin cures, I'm gonna sand all the high spots down. In the next episode, I'll give Gengar his legs back, attach him to an Akedo base plate, and figure out how to make his tongue his split strike button. Don't miss it. Like and subscribe. Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior, part 6. As you can see, he splits when you hit his split strike button. Now, let's focus on reattaching his original legs. I don't know what kind of plastic this is, but I couldn't cut it with my trim shears. And I was forced to saw them off. It wasn't easy, but I eventually removed all the white plastic from inside the legs. Now, I'm gonna use UV resin to glue the legs back onto the body. And I made extra sure to angle the second leg the same as the first, so Gengar would stand straight. I'm happy with that, and the next step is to get a base plate from the parts drawer. Gengar has a really wide stance, so we're gonna need a Ninja Fury base plate just like Charizard. He's looking really good, but we still need to make sure he can be split. I saved this tongue knowing that it was probably gonna be Gengar's split strike button. And I forgot to film it, but I was testing Gengar out and his tongue was a little low and just out of reach. So I'm gonna raise him up by one base plate. But first, I wanna fill in this cavity with epoxy sculpt so there's more surface area to bond the two base plates together. I didn't have another Ninja Fury base plate, so I'm using a Series 1 base, which we have a ton of. To make it look nice and custom, I'm gonna wrap both base plates in clay. And now, let's have a battle test between Gengar and Battle Giant Tongue. For the first time, you can see just how huge Gengar really is. Okay, ready, fight, split strike. Wait a minute, what just happened? Gengar knocked off Tonk's double strike armor with his tongue and ended up splitting himself? Okay, I'll take that as a successful split test. And now I know his weapon needs to be extremely OP, but that's gonna be in the next episode. Don't miss it, like and subscribe. Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior, Part 7. In the last episode, we reattached Gengar's legs, put him on an Akedo base plate, and gave him a tongue for a split strike button. Now, we need to give him arms that he can use to dominate the Halloween 3.0 tournament. And after a little bit of testing, I think I have an idea. But in order to pull it off, we're gonna need to sacrifice another battle giant. Shatterclaw's arms would be perfect. And I count 3 doubles. You know what? It's gonna be worth it. Let's do it. I'm only gonna need the arms, so let's rip them off and attach them to Gengar. But before we do that, I want to beef up the spring inside the arm so the hands don't end up drooping, because I am planning on adding a bunch of weight to these in the form of clay to make them look more like Gengar's arms. In order to swap out the spring, I'm gonna have to cut this knob off. Now the old spring will slide right off and we can add our beefier spring. And to reattach the knob, I added a nail to assist the super glue. That should make it a permanent bond. I just need to glue the 2 sides of the arm back together, and now we're ready to attach these to Gengar. They look pretty good already, but before we make any modifications, time for a rematch, and this time, it's a fair fight. That was pretty impressive. And the best part about it, I can probably still turn this Shatterclaw into something cool.
Gengar uses Shadow Ball!
Gengar wins. Ready for next battle.
Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior Part 8. Okay guys, the end is near. Let's put Tonk back in his house for now and get to work making these arms look more Gengar-y. Then, all that'll be left is painting. That's pretty exciting. I remember back when I first started this build, I had no plans and no design. I just made everything up as we were going. And that's why I like to do these harder builds in short videos. It gives me more time to get things exactly the way I want them. And the best part about it is that you guys get to see the whole process, mistakes and all. My main goal with the clay here is to make the arms look more like Gengar's. But I'm also trying to add as much weight as I can because the beefed up spring is actually doing its job too good. And the arm isn't moving out as freely as it's supposed to. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch part 7 to see what I did. I got both arms finished and I have a little bit of clay left over, so I'm gonna fill in this joint between Gengar's body and legs. It's looking good. And I can't wait to get this guy sanded and ready to paint. So I'm gonna leave him out in the sun to help speed up the curing process. It's been about an hour, and ready or not, we're sanding. Okay, the first round of sanding is complete, but before I go any further, I want to put Gengar through a complete battle test. Against Battle Giant Alpha Wolf, Battle Giant Scratchatron, Battle Giant Drillboard, and Battle Giant Tonk.
The game is in trouble. I've been in my depth for the piece of the puzzle. I got it for real. Still keep me going. I wake up and hustle. You don't see me buckle. I've been in the field. Man of the town. You've been in your fields. I'm adjusting this crown. Call me your majesty. Either that or your tragedy.
Gengar beat 2 out of the 4 Series 2 Battle Giants. I think that's pretty good. But what do you guys think? Do I need to make any changes? Comment your suggestions now. Otherwise, in the next episode, we're gonna paint and finish Gengar. Don't miss it. Like and subscribe. Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior Part 9. I was sanding Gengar, getting him ready to paint, when he broke off his base plate. So the first thing we need to do is secure him with a nail this time. And now that we have a hole for the nail in the base plate, I'm gonna use a marker to help transfer the hole location to the bottom of Gengar's foot. Now we know exactly where to drill. I'll super glue the nail into the base plate, then add more glue to the top of the nail and the base. And that should solve that problem, bringing us to our next problem. But first, I want to reply to some of your comments. Make it a little easier to break. It might not seem like it when I'm fighting myself, but Gengar is actually really easy to split. Check it out. At this point, Gengar is the heaviest Akedo Warrior custom or stock. Gengar might look really heavy, but remember, he's hollow inside, so I bet he's not the heaviest. Let's go see. First, let's weigh our real metal Iron Man Mark 1. He's almost completely made of metal, 2.2 ounces. Now let's weigh Jack Skellington, who's without a doubt our tallest Akedo Warrior. Same as Iron Man. This is who I think is our heaviest Akedo Warrior. It's gotta be Charizard. He comes in at 4 ounces. Now let's weigh Gengar, who feels so light, guys. He's like a feather. 2.9 ounces. Okay, he's not that light. He's our second heaviest Akedo custom ever. And now, let's address the problem. A lot of you have been commenting that we should put a Shadow Ball in Gengar's hand. And honestly, I really like that idea. But it's gonna delay the project because the special glow-in-the-dark marbles I bought on Amazon won't arrive for a week. But don't worry, because I have a bunch of cool stuff planned in the meantime. So like and subscribe. Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior Part 10. I just got this package in the mail and I'm pretty sure it's the marbles. There's just one thing I'm worried about. I wish I would have checked their size before I ordered them. Yeah, I can already tell they're way too small. They look really cool though. They even glow in the dark, but they're just not right. It looks like Gengar's holding an apple. Okay, you know what? I can always add a Shadow Ball later. Let's finish this. I could make this quick and easy and paint Gengar as is, but I want him to be perfect. And if at all possible, I really want to avoid painting on details like the eyes. So I'm gonna try my best to make them out of clay. Let me know if you think I made the eyes look better or not, and if you approve. In the next video, I'll paint and finish Gengar. Don't miss it. Like and subscribe. Making a custom Gengar Akedo Warrior Part 11. Before we paint Gengar, I just need to make some last minute changes, and I did see that a lot of you guys had some reservations about the eyes, but you gotta trust me on this one. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm gonna show you guys what character we'll be making next. Okay, let's paint Gengar and finally complete Halloween 3.0. Only 4 months late. The primer went on like a dream and Gengar is looking like a blank sheet of paper. Unfortunately, the purple paint kept clogging my airbrush and I was forced to finish by hand. Four coats of purple later, and we're back to priming the eyes, teeth, tongue, and base plate. Gengar is really starting to come together. Isn't it amazing what a few coats of paint can do? It's been a long journey, and I still want to find a Shadow Ball, but for now, I present to you Gengar. Let me know what you guys think of him and who's winning the Halloween 3.0 tournament. Oh, and I'm making this guy next. Don't miss it. Like and subscribe.